Hello, I am Harry, and we will go through the stories of Wadi al-Jinn, but do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Let's go. On the first day of March 2016, 5 friends, Anthony, George, Christina, Julia, and Stephen, went on an exploratory trip in the desert. They camped there, prepared food, and played together and had fun. But a storm came and they were unable to spend the night there. They left the place, and while they were walking, the car stopped in front of a house. Beautiful, they had not seen it before, and Julia suggested to them that they ask for help from anyone in this house, and they all went to the house and knocked on the door. Someone opened for them, and they asked him for help, and he went with them to the car, but they could not make up now. He suggested that they sit in his house until the morning, so they all agreed and went with him to the car. The house, and as they entered the house, the man told them that the rooms are at the top, and do not open the doors of the rooms until the morning, no matter what happens, and I do not want any disturbance. So Anthony became angry with the man's talk, so his friend stopped him and went upstairs. An hour passed and they did not sleep yet, but a loud sound occurred, as if it were an explosion, and they were filled with terror and curiosity to know what it was. What was the sound? But remember the man's words. They wanted daylight to break out so they could leave this strange house. An hour later, while they were deep in sleep, Christina had not slept, but she closed her eyes. She heard the sound of footsteps in the room. Christina opened her eyes and started screaming, frightening her friends. They calmed her down and said that she saw the man with a friend. The house, but he was very tall and had thick hair on his head, and when she screamed, he disappeared. Anthony blindfolded him again, but this time they all went out behind him to catch him and prevent him from doing anything. But what was surprising was that when they left the room, they found themselves in the desert and found the camping items in their place. But they did not understand. Where are they? They did not find the house, and they found their car standing on the other side. They all rushed to the car out of fear and started to leave, but he stopped them and became aware of himself and said, "We must know the truth about the house and the man and what happened. Are we all dreaming?" They went to the house, but when they knocked on the door, it opened by itself, but there was no one. The interior is like what it is here. The house is very old from the inside, and there are terrifying pictures on the walls, but they heard the sound of the door closing and the light going out. Suddenly, when they turned on the flashlight, they found themselves in the desert again, but here they did not find any things, neither the car nor the camping equipment. They only found a terrifying bird that had risen. He threw a paper at them and left, but they were in a state of extreme terror. But when they opened the letter, they found 2 words which were, "You are the ones who started." But they did not know anything about what they started, and they remained standing in confusion and terror, and they saw a light like a flame of fire, so they went to this light in the hope that someone would help them. But when they went behind the light, it was very far away, but the surprise was that they fell into a pit, and here was the surprise. This pit into which they fell was the throne of the king of the jinn. They did not know, and they were shocked when they saw the man who was in the house, and he said to them, "I said, stop, do not leave your rooms." He appeared in a terrifying way to them. They all fainted. When they woke up, they found themselves inside the house, and it was written on the wall, "From here is the beginning of solving the puzzle and leaving the valley." They all stood looking at each other with looks of amazement, but they did not know anything about what had happened. But they decided to leave the house, but there was no door to exit. All they had to do was calm down and search inside the house for anything that would help them. But after a lot of searching, they did not find anything in the house, and George became very angry and began to look inside the house for anything that would help them. By accusing Anthony of being the reason, and not knowing that the reason was someone else than them, George pushed Anthony forcefully, so he hit the wall, and here was the surprise. A small door had opened that could only accommodate 1 person, and this basement was the last hope for their survival. When they entered, all the searchlights were lit, and when they crossed, they found themselves in a cemetery. They found skins and books they knew nothing about, and skeletons. But the view was truly terrifying, and Julia fainted from the terrifying sight and the stench. They woke her up and continued their search. but they found words appearing on the wall. "This is the wrong place that is destroying you." And these words disappeared, and the basement door was closed again, and the lights went out, and they found themselves again in the house. And there was no trace of the basement or the hidden door. Anthony got angry and broke everything around him. They heard the sound of a small animal. They went towards the sound and found that it was a mouse. They found this mouse lending an old bag hidden from view at the bottom of the stairs. They opened the bag and found a piece of paper. This paper was like a thunderbolt on Stephen because it would reveal everything. When they started reading it, they discovered that there was a traitorous person among them. Written magic words and a picture on the back of the paper of a person preparing jinn, but the person was not very clear, but they felt that they saw this person and kept thinking and consulting. But Steve did not say anything, and tension appeared on his face, and everyone began to doubt him, and each of them kept remembering where they saw these clothes. But Julia, I remembered that. These were the clothes that Stefan had worn at the Halloween party, and he left them in the middle of the party, and left. At this point, Julia confronted Stephen, and Stephen became very nervous, and Christina said to him, "Yes, why did you not react? Why did you want us to return to the house again? What was the reason?" George and Anthony approached him and said to him, "Speak now," and after pressure, he admitted that he was the one who brought them to this place in agreement with the king of the elves, and the man who opened the door is the king's servant, and I am one of his servants as well, and we are now in his kingdom. The house was transformed very quickly, and the house became the king's kingdom, and Istakin was transformed into a very hideous person, and he appeared in his form and said to them, "I am not a human, and I came to you and got to know you a year ago to bring you here, because there is something in you that will greatly benefit us in our magic." Suddenly the owner of the jinn and his servants appeared and said to them, "You are the ones who chose this path and attacked one of us a year ago when you were in the desert on an exploratory trip and killed a wolf. This wolf was my eldest son, and he was warning you not to approach the valley while you killed him. And this is the day of your punishment, but each one of them has a magical power, and they do not know anything about it. But remember when they all went to church one day and met an old man, and he said to them, 'You all have power.' In your blood they used it for good, but they did not pay attention to the topic and did not know how to use it. And remember Steve's word, that there is something in their blood that helps them with magic." Anthony injured himself and the rest of his friends, but nothing happened. The king of the elves and the servants laughed at their lack of knowledge, but they all held their hands, but the surprise was that he appeared. An energy of light destroyed the valley, and no one could stand in front of them, but at the same time they found themselves on a main road, and there was no car on it. They ran while they did not understand anything. While they were running, a car stopped and they were asked to get into the car. They all got in, but the driver turned into the wise man. They shouted, then he told them, "Do not be afraid. I am the one who helped you to escape from this valley. I am the wolf whom the Jinn King claimed that you killed. I am not one of the evil ones. He is the one who left our tribe and turned evil for the sake of power, but he was destroyed thanks to you, my friends. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel."